So, is it working? Yes, it is working. Very welcome to the workshop 3. And I think we have all, when I'm looking on the panel, I have to say something that is like very important. Some of you might understand it, but I guess I'm looking around. Many faces probably don't understand it. What you see here is a family. So, myself, Jonas Buechel, the Urban Institute here in Riga, and we have partner organizations, Jekaterina from Vilnius and Teele from Linnalabor in Tallinn. So that means we have a gorgeous chance, and we are very thankful for that we also have like a Baltic urbanist meeting tonight, tomorrow, which is very important for us. And we can even add it up with fantastic, very well-known persons from Riga and Sesijā, Kokins. As I understood, you just came in from Sweden today, lunchtime or something like this. Right. So we're in the Stockholm School of Economics. That fits maybe a little bit. And Jānis, a very close friend, colleague, ManaRiga and Lab 371 and whatsoever else, what you are doing. But we will talk about all of this today. I guess this is the main issue why we are sitting here. Maybe to start off with one issue where I'm a little bit afraid to say as the Urban Institute, especially when I listened to Teele today morning to a presentation talking about 7%, and I think we in the Urban Institute even don't know yet how to spell the words revenue. So we are far away from social entrepreneurship. Maybe Christophs is able to spell that, but you have an economical education, we don't. Let's see how communities and social entrepreneurship are going together. This is something what, especially for us, I should mention that in the very beginning, as the Urban Institute, we will, in the next days, sign a huge project with the Ministry of Regional Development here in Latvia in order to carry out community work training programs. And exactly this is a reason why we also are very interested about the results today. And I will try to bring also, as much as I can as a moderator, to try to bring you all and us, and I hope a lot of comments and questions from the audience, to something like a kind of results. In the beginning, let's try to a little bit do it different than in the other sessions, in the way of really stick to short. Keep it short and sexy. Please keep it sexy so that we can have the chance really to talk afterwards, that we do not listen simply to 3 questions and then have to as a panel give a short feedback. There should be more interaction. I would be happy to have that. Yeah? And I will remind you now, and I will remind you when we finished again, 6:15, the buses leaving to the theater, to the Dirty Deal. So please have that in mind. We changed a little bit the rank here. We're not starting with Jānis. We thought it's nice to have one presentation from abroad starting and one presentation from abroad finishing, which means Teele would start, Jekaterina would finish, and in between we would have Jānis and Turms. Davis is currently not here, so we are waiting. Teele, please.
Hello again. Nice to see you again. So Jonas asked us to present what we are involved in our countries, in our cities. I will present to you the biggest advocacy and engagement project Linnalabor has ever faced, and that I am responsible to lead. So it's about neighborhood movement in Tallinn. The initiative is called Urban Idea, and it is initiated by the neighborhood associations themselves. And I also mentioned that I am a member of one neighborhood association in Kalamaja, very close to the center of Tallinn. So I have 2 roles here. So very briefly about the neighborhood movement in Tallinn, which has 420,000 residents. So there are around 20 non-profit organizations, NGOs, that have members from, 20 to 200. It varies between the city parts. And the aim is the same, to improve the living environment in their neighborhood, and they have defined the neighborhood themselves. Like the limits are not the official, or the borders are not defined by the city government, but by the enthusiasts themselves. And these neighborhood associations, they have different histories. Some have started in the First Republic in 20s or 30s, some in the 90s. And there was a big wave in after 2006 when this hippie, bohemian kind of neighborhood in Uusmaailm, in the very center, they started to work, or they came together, and then they were very media aware, and that's why it created this kind of new positive wave of neighborhood movement. So, and the associations or the active neighborhoods are mainly located in either in these wooden heritage milieu districts around the center, or in these garden city suburbs in Pirita up there, or in Nõmme down here. So I show you now some pictures of the range of activities that these active neighborhoods are doing. So, and this is just a glimpse. Like, there are many more things, but for me, I guess these are the most important ones. So this is a picture of my neighborhood. We organized a street opening with around 500 people without any permits. And we opened the very wide pedestrian and bike lane. And the street before, it had 2 car lanes and very narrow pedestrian lanes. So we were very cheerful about the new trends coming into street planning to Tallinn. And a couple of days later, our mayor, with a couple of his friends, the mayor is in beige, he opened the car lane. So this shows that these worlds still are quite separate. Then, again, about the streetscape, there was a baby pram ride in Kalamaja to mark the possible, dreamed pedestrian or boulevard connecting the old town and the seaside. So this is a like bottom-up initiative to envision the possible future, the better future. Because the city government, it doesn't have any plan with that street yet. Then there are normal street festivals, and just also in the middle of a very cold winter, and this is from our street, and sauna van was brought there as well. So it's making the public space more alive, no matter what the weather is. Yeah, and these street fairs and neighborhoods coming together, this is very common. This is happening everywhere in Tallinn already. And here's another from far away in Kopli. Another example how public space is used, like street cinema. And as I mentioned, this Uusmaailm district, very public, media-aware neighborhood, they have their own community library and community space, as well as the radio. Every month they started with 1 day, and I think now they're doing 2 days because they're having so much fun doing that show. And you can listen it online, you can listen it from radio, so it's a real radio. Then there is also a lot of alternative ways. The active neighborhoods, they are showing the alternative ways how to use space, no matter what the ownership is. This is a privately owned seaside area in Kalarand, very close to the center, and we organized this kind of beach party and put up this beach furniture to mark the possible better future, instead of a private yacht club that was planned there initially, and big development that is still in process, actually. And some years later, we tried the spots with public sauna, and it works very well. It's a perfect spot for that. We got the idea, actually, from Helsinki. Different bike tours, different kind of this educating about the history, about the future, about plans that are being made in the neighborhood. This is very common as well for the active neighborhoods. And part of this national hysteria, in every May, this Let's Do It, this campaign, you know, this is not only happening in May, but in some other months as well, but especially in May, all the neighborhoods, and not only neighborhoods, all corporations that are socially responsible, they also come out and clean our city. But as I showed in the Soul Street opening with the mayor, and that these are still like two colliding worlds. The initiative Urban Idea was initiated exactly for that, to improve the collaboration between the city government and the local experts, meaning the local neighborhoods. And we started it in March this year, but started to prepare it much longer, like a year ago. And we defined the expected results, or what we wanted to get out of it. It was to define, actually write down, what is a neighborhood association as a local expert, what kind of expertise does it have, and how the communication with the city government should go. And to create more trust between these different stakeholders, between the policymakers and those who actually know what's happening and what is needed in their neighborhood, and also to spread the word about this kind of movement and these kind of enthusiastic people and associations, and also foster the collaboration between those neighborhoods. So what we have achieved so far is, yes, we have written down what is a neighborhood association. It's not easy, actually. You might think that it's like, come on, what is it? It's people who have come together because they are worried about their living environment, but still, also among these activists themselves, there are quarrels that, no, are we that or are we that? So it took some workshops to actually write the definition down. We have visited some other cities, or then the other cities like Berlin and Helsinki. They have come to Tallinn to talk about their community development practices. And now we are compiling a very important document. It's this goodwill act of collaboration between the city government and the neighborhood associations to create a new ground for better future. And this has to be adopted by the city council, which is a big challenge for us to achieve, but let's see. And we have continuously communicated. We have thought that this process description and archiving, in a way, is very important to create a model for maybe other cities as well, but also to inspire in that way. So we're not just doing something and then when we have the Goodwill Act or some other achievements, then we're like, yay, celebrating it. But we are putting a lot of effort in publishing newsletters, in putting all the meeting memos up, in spreading the word, in communicating with the media. And a very big star event that we had just before local elections that were on 20th of October was our press conference. The candidates running for mayor, all the guys sitting there, they were there and they were very seriously discussing about, yes, it's very important to involve the neighborhoods, and yes, they are the local experts, so they are speaking the words already. So this is a major achievement. Like previous local elections, nobody was mentioning even the neighborhood associations, or maybe one party. So I'm very proud about that event, and we can always refer to that. There were a lot of media channels present as well. And, okay, to wrap it up, and this is what might interest Jonas especially, this is a very, okay, I jump now to this, what I think about the neighborhood association as social entrepreneurs, or what's the situation in Tallinn. The situation is not that good yet, because the neighborhood associations, they are very much stuck in this system, in this municipal system, and they are maybe not seeing the possibilities to do something on their own or actually proactively start offering services, but the connotation is slowly getting there. So there are some examples already. Some associations, they are providing or helping the homeless kids or kids from poor families and stuff like that. But and there are actually calls for tenders by the Citizens Foundation of Estonia to create some ideas for social entrepreneurship by these NGOs as well. But what we have talked about and discussed, some ideas, what could be done in that field. These social welfare services like childcare, elderly care, and then very much about public space, either maintaining it or using it temporarily, and then taking this public discussions or the gathering data from local residents, what they want in their neighborhood, are they happy with this development, what they think, what should be done on that certain plot, like things like that. But huge potential, in my opinion, lies in the Russian minority, that no association is actually dealing with that issue, because the Russian minority, if I go many slides back, is mainly living in the black areas. The Lasnamäe, which is called the second biggest city in Estonia, is on the right hand, and there is Mustamäe and Õismäe here. So these are totally uncovered areas. Like, of course, there are these apartment associations active. They are doing some things, but there's so much potential. And I'm not talking about integration, like let's bring them into Estonian society. I'm talking about this, like, know your rights, about shaping your own living environment, and then do something like this kind of topics that would bring these different ethnic groups together. Yes, that was it. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I understand that correct, then actually we have to state also, I think it's important for the audience simply to know that when we are talking about urbanism, when we are talking about community work and community engagement as being maybe a lever for like supporting any kind of social entrepreneurship also and ideas in social entrepreneurship, then for sure we are a little bit dependent on a certain kind of identity and something that is happening. And I mean, when I'm looking on Riga and compare it then again with Tallinn and what we are doing here, there is something happening in Riga, but for sure the tradition of these community identities doesn't exist, and I'm afraid also in Vilnius doesn't exist in this way as you have it in Tallinn. So maybe this is also a big, how to say, advantage in that moment already where to start from. Now I would love to change to Jānis Ķīnasts, who is like doing the next presentation, and now we are switching to Riga. Jānis, Lūdzu.
I must go really close to the microphone, or can stand like this and speak?
I think that's anyway, this one will work also. Should work.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a big honor for this invitation to be standing here in front of you and to participate in a forum that's dedicated to entrepreneurship, because actually for the last 5 or 6 years I've been running away from this term or concept. I've never counted myself as an entrepreneur. I don't know why.
It's freeze, but we are fixing it.
Oh, okay. We have it here. Maybe we should we shift.
Maybe you can come here, just
exactly. We
share the stage.
So it's pink, it has why, who, how.
Why, who, how.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a very nice slide, to be honest.
Thank you for stealing my opening line.
So you see, it's always fun with urbanists, yeah?
Yeah, we were joking before that. Let's swap the presentations.
Yes.
But it's normal. It's happening all the time for me, so I'm used to.
We can make some kind of Karaoke? This is,
There are only 2 words, 3 words, but you can make a song maybe out of it.
question is, you want to continue without?
I would love to continue with the slides.
Good.
That's the reason I prepared it. Them.
Yes. Very nice.
So my name is Jānis Ķīnasts.
So no, you are like a stage diva. You are like allowed to do whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever I want. But I can continue the story I started to because, as I said, I've never counted myself as an entrepreneur. And maybe this is the reason, this day is the reason finally to start to not to comprehend, but take in mind this kind of dimension of the activities me and the project I've been involved in actually are dealing with. But it would be really, really nice to have some proper, related to my theme, visual material.
The problem is it just switched off.
Nobody's going to see it.
And now this is off. This is okay.
Finally. So we can start.
Thank you, technician.
Thank you. So my presentation is structured within. Okay.
I mean, we don't need this. It's okay.
As long as I've already spent most of my presentation. There's less space to talk rubbish, so it's okay. So anyways, these are 3 questions we are really particular dedicated to, and in that order. There's an ongoing notion in the world that we must start to think a bit differently. We must start to think about the world as the world we are making and as the world that also vice versa makes us. As Anne-Marie Willis has stated in her magnificent publication, you can find it in academia.edu, she speaks about ontological designing. Designing when we design things that designs us back, and within that designing process we design the world and reality we live in. As a theory it climbs, or you can read it, and I can just continue with the fact that as an individual, these are the things I really truly believe in, and I could sign under these statements. And if you have read it, actually the most important is the last sentence, that this kind of thinking adds up to a double movement. We design our world while our world acts back on us and design us. But I'm not here as an individual. I'm here as a person who actually is a part of the greater community. Greater community is actually not some separate but interrelated and connected teams I work with. And actually in the next slides I will just shortly try to introduce you with the project actually I'm involved in. I'm really happy that Kristaps Kaugurs is here because he is one of the reasons, as there are many of them. We founded Lab Plus 371 almost 2 years ago, and it's experimental placemaking design team. Actually, we founded it as a platform for young professionals who just had graduated from the schools and really wanted to do something differently. Mostly, we were architects. I'm not an architect. I've studied environmental science and geography. Kristaps is coming from business kind of dimension. But we really tried to set up a new kind of platform for how young professionals from architecture design platforms could actually collaborate within and do something a bit differently. We've been terribly lazy last sort of, not a few, but almost a year. But there's one ongoing project that's going on, and it's informal collaboration with the Latvian Academy of Culture. And we are working on some kind of informal approach how to actually a bit rethink the courtyard of the Academy of Culture. And we've been managed to get approximately 200 ideas from the one workshop we did in May. And now we are sort of trying to work on how to sum up all these ideas and come up with some kind of related to placemaking conception for that place. This is the courtyard. It looks so in summer. This is the point of view from winter. And all we are willing to do is actually to bring some colors in it. And how? We are NGO-based. We have a non-governmental organization beneath us. It's completely non-profit project. It's totally voluntary. Whenever any kind of members of our team has a spare time, they are most welcome to contribute with any kind of ideas and project. And if you're interested in the things we're trying to do, but I said, yeah, I'm a bit lazy in the recent time, you can check out our Twitter account or just send us an email. The next project I'm really dedicated to is ManaRiga, and it's urban initiative, actually. It's nothing more than a team of, not 3, but many more young people who've traveled around the world and actually came back to Riga. I've not traveled so much, but anyways, I'm not from Riga originally, so I can sort of count in that community that has come back to Riga and understood that Riga is a magnificent place to live. And all we are actually trying to do, we are speaking about Riga in a bit different way. We are trying to really involve people and invite them to participate in the city. We are writing articles about Riga. We are trying to make and implement new kind of narratives about the city. We've been on for almost a year, and actually, so far, the project is going on pretty well. And recently, in this summer, we managed to implement a project dedicated to some kind of transformation of the courtyards, so-called third spaces, abundant spaces. At some point, maybe it relates even to Occupy Me movement now in Riga. And we did it in 3 places in Riga, in 3 neighborhoods. And we gathered as many young people as could and actually asked them what kind of things you are really wanting to have in your backyard. And if you are willing to have them, you must be willing to make them. And actually, together with all the young children, we used wooden pallets. And actually, the notion beneath the wooden pallets is a bit philosophical, because it's a rectangular square. You can reassemble it, you can assemble it, you can make whatever it out, you can get it freely, and then you can make something like that. And how we are working, we are also NGO-based. Financial income is irregular. Actually, it's only when we are implementing any kind of project. And in that case, too, money goes for activities, not for administration. We are working for free. It is not a status quo we are looking for, because, of course, we are looking for some kind of financial sustainability. But at this point, it is much more crucial for us to stay independent, not to get some kind of outsourced funding. Volunteering in this project is sort of the common basis, the fundamental basis of our activities. And actually, the main point of volunteering is that this project uses certain kind of unique experience and possibility to accumulate some kind of new understandings and knowledge about actually how the city is working. And all we do, we are experimenting. If you are interested in something more, you can also check our social platforms, webpage, or write us. And last but not the least, I'm here as one of the co-authors of the co-working space in Riga called DarbaVieta. In English, it could be directly translated as a working place. And putting it simple, is just a platform for freelancers. Freelancing is a pretty growing thing here in Riga, in Latvia. Many of us are sort of judging freelancers as the actually homeless person without permanent jobs. And it's just a traditional sort of understanding of freelancers. But we are really trying to change that, some sort of perception, by really trying to implement a physical space in Riga, where all the freelancers who are willing to work in a bit different environment are really willing, not willing, but invited to engage with us or contribute. And the sort of the method we are really believing is the massive skill sharing and project-based collaboration. These are some photos from the first place at Ziedoņdārzs in Riga. There is a beautiful park at the intersection of Artilleries and Čak Street. And in that place near Ziedoņdārzs, we actually existed for 1 year. And as you can see in the picture, we are really trying to push hard the thing that the collaboration and multidisciplinary approach in reality is something more as it goes on a paper. It must really be a collaboration between any kind of disciplines and professions. As craftsmanships, as makers, we have a makerspace, and this is the thing we are really, I will mention it again, pushing forward, that we must combine all the mental resources of the people who are working with their heads and trying to do some kind of intellectual work. They must connect with the people who work with work and think with their hands, who are building furniture, sewing fashion, and so on. But recently we have moved to another place, and actually we've got a bit bigger. We've moved to Laimikis Street 34 in Riga, and we have a bigger space, and the location is in downtown, and the community has grown. Now we are 18 people working there. We are really sort of trying to build up community, because the community is the thing that supports and actually gives any kind of potential effective framework for dealing with any kind of social activities. And at the moment we are also trying to get ready the second floor, and after a couple of weeks there will be space in 2 floors in second and fourth floor, combining together with more than 250 square meters of space for freelancers in Riga. And actually we are pretty proud of the things we are trying to implement. And how? As well as all the other projects I mentioned, this project is NGO based. It's once again a non-profit project. The only cash flow that comes from monthly memberships or rental free. We are renting the physical space for the freelancers. The monthly membership is 50 lats, and after the conversion to euros it will be 70 euros per month. For extra activities such as lectures, workshops and whatsoever, we are trying to get some grants. And managers, as me, we are working without the salary. But with the profits we are getting are completely non-material. Nevertheless, they are non-material but of great value, as we think they are. And there are skills we can get, network we are making, the interaction within the process we call work, the collaboration that can be project-based, and actually in the end of the month you see that you've started to work with all the freelancers, that actually you're working in one project, and then the real multidisciplinary approach really comes to reality. We are trying to be that change community in these times when we really understand that at some point we must move away from that as usual understood neoliberal economic approach. Money is really crucial, but there are many things of great purpose outside that dimension. And of course, as you saw, we are building the things with our hands. We are really pushing that do-it-yourself economy stuff. And if you are willing to sort of check out the things we are doing, you can also check the Facebook page. The web page is under construction because we are moving from Zēdeņdārzs to the new space. And if you are willing to get any kind of deeper information, you can 24/7 text or mail me. And the lessons learned. We must be really aware of the critical content we do. We must really understand and define what is the change we are trying to get into reality. What are the things we are trying to do, and what are the relational complexity that bounds these things together. And it takes a community to be a person. It is time to really rethink our attitude as individuals in Riga, because in Latvia it's really a common thing to work as a solo. We are really pushing the thing that there must be a community, because the community is the place that actually is the framework where things can happen. And money does not lead, it follows. And there are many far more important things as money. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jānis. In fact, I just want to give kind of one feedback on that ManaRiga, the homepage, this middle project that you presented for, I don't know what the other people here in Riga think or coming from Riga, but for me it gets more and more really like a journalistic hotspot for that, what happens in our work. So I think it's crucial. Okay, it's in Latvian for those who are not familiar with Latvian language, but it is important, and I think we always have missed something like that, to really have like kind of a portfolio of our city, but from a different perspective, from an independent perspective. Now it's a pleasure, most of all because I didn't know that he was out to Sweden, so I'm really happy he's here, to introduce Tuoms, although for most who are from Riga it's really not necessary. Tuoms is, as I think, very well known and has started crucial initiatives, not only in Riga. I mean, I'm happy to say that, because that's important also with respect to the community work, that what we are interested in the Urban Institute, to go also, as we call it, to go rural. And Tuoms has done it physically with projects and with himself as well, really tried to bring in another scale, like a small scale, a small city, but a beautiful city. And as I have heard, you will also talk about Sesijā, which will be a follow-up to the morning where we had the mayor of Cesis. So, Toms, please.
I will talk through 3 cases. I will start with Miera Street, and then I will go to Cesis, which is local shift, and maybe also with the Riga cycling revolution. Miera Street. Short history is that me and my colleague Evelyn Ozola, we came some time ago from studies. We studied urbanism in different countries. And we came here and we just saw that there is this lacking discipline or refreshment of the discipline of urban planning. And we didn't know where to start. We didn't have too much professional engagement, especially in urban design in Riga. So we just started drawing these concepts, how we see some places could look like. And we started with Miera Street, which was one of the projects we did. And I mean, the design solutions are quite common to see in some other cities. It's wider pedestrian pathways, bike lanes, flexible public space program. But why we started in Miera Street? Because we saw that these things that we really loved and that we really were learning about in our studies are starting to appear naturally on the street. One of the reasons is the active local community, which we thought if we ever want to try to achieve or to start something like that in Riga, we have to start it somewhere where there is a community. Without community, it's against the wall work. So we started in Miera Street. You can see all the nice things happening. People start to, make the space more livable themselves. So what we did, we didn't have the clear roadmap how to do things, and so we just put the concept on the street without asking to anybody. We tried to sort of get permission from city to make an exhibition, but you have to have a really long bureaucratic process. That's why we put our panels on bikes. So we just took her out of the city and just asked the people on the Miera Street, what do they think? Well, how would they feel about this design happening in their street? And it was very positive, and we really felt like people want change, and they really were supporting us. We got noticed. We put all our stuff in a blog, in internet, of course, and we got noticed by some media. And what really surprised us and what really encouraged us actually was the big response also of the very harsh internet society, usually harsh. In this case, this change was really welcomed. And that really, made us feel that we shouldn't stop. We should continue this, and that's why it's important to have this feedback. So we got more deep into the design. We really strengthened the proposal from professional perspective. We really did investigations how the things are done in other countries and so on. So it's really important to, to have also a professional backbone of whatever you really try to implement in a city. So we came up next year and we built a tent. We exhibited again panels, updated version of our proposal. And what we did, we started gathering signatures, as a support for this initiative. And we got surprisingly lots of signatures, over 1,100 or so. And basically, this could go like this for a quite long time. You drop an idea in a public space, in a virtual space. You get feedback, you improve it, make it stronger, and then drop it again. And so, this loop could be never-ending, and actually there is no final design of a street or of a place. It will go on like this forever. And so our next step will be next summer, which will be the 3rd year of our activity. And we're really preparing some intriguing stuff in the street festival that is going to happen next summer. And we assume that will give us lots of leading leading directions or hints how to develop next. And yeah, that's one of the questions really when you start doing something in a city from scratch. What's the roadmap? How do you do these things? I mean, we've read lots of books how the things are done in other places, but every place is different. Every place has a different history, cultural history, and so on. So we don't know what's the roadmap actually, and actually nobody knows really in Riga how to do it. We have like different guesses how could it be done. So the process is something like this. What we really see: you do one step, you push it as far as you can push that one step, and then it tells you what's going to be the next step. And there is, in every case, probably the slope will be somehow different. And what's important at this point is actually not stopping doing it. Just keep on doing it, and it will tell you, it will guide you where to go next. These are the actors that are involved so far in the project. It's us, who gave the impulse for the initiative. It's definitely Miera Street community. It's us again later, which is Lights Contemporary Architecture Information Center, where we understood that in order for us to achieve better results, we have to institutionalize ourselves, to make our voice heavier. Media is very important to get feedback. This year, Laima, the biggest and the most well-known chocolate producer in Latvia, they just found us because probably of the media, and they called us and say, hey, this is really good, we want to support you. So here's just a letter of support for this whole thing. And Laima is it's a big deal. It's a big taxpayer in a city, and it's a legend. So it really matters to have that support. And random good people. It's amazing how you start doing one thing and they just start finding you and say, I want help, I want to do something. Volunteers, people who come up and sign. It's quite amazing. So right now we are at the step where we have gathered the info, the signatures, the support, build up the more strong proposal, and we are right about to give this message to the city institutions and to state institutions, and to see what are going to be the next steps. In context of this conference, where's the business? There is no business so far at all. So many people ask, where do you do this? Why spend your time? Why charity? Why are you doing this charity? I wouldn't call it charity either. It's actually investment, really long-term investment into a civic society. That's the ideal investment. If not for me, my kids will see the results of it. This design, the street design, it's just an excuse for neighbors to come and start talking together. That's why we have to do these things. We have to provoke in public space these things. More realistic, more short-term investment is professional environment and demand. Once we push these things, once we develop these things, it might happen that in a few years it will become a normal praxis, and by then we will be one of the few experts in this field. So we actually built this discipline ourselves, and hopefully will create demand for our profession. Quickly run through the local shift theme. It's a Riga Technical University International Summer School that I've been organizing for quite some years. And this year we were at Sesijā. It's a small town around 80 kilometers from Riga. And it's basically educational form of education in summer, where we gather students, international students, Latvian students, and we learn by doing, we learn by designing. We have also the academical dimension to it. But basically, we really try to link whatever we do in this educational process, link maximum as we can to the real situation in a cityscape and in the social scape. So here's one example. We built, one group had a task to build a monument or to build a modern time monument for a city of Cēsis that would celebrate newcomers and long survivors instead of some past event, maybe a present sort of situation. So we built up a story tower, we called it, and it's basically a book exchange point. Why book exchange? Initially the task was to build a monument because we understood that in order for our design to be sustainable, to not just be something to look at, but actually to have a higher goal, we need something else. And so we did research. We found that there is this library in the middle of city that is behind thick walls and in a big stone building, and they have this book exchange point there, but it's somewhere in the basement and nobody really knows it. Just the real book geeks know that there is a book exchange point. So what we did, we just took it out of the building, the existing function, and we put it in one of the most undeveloped and most busy actually spots in Cēsis. It's Central Square. So this is the director of local library, and this happened like in 1 week, from concept, building the thing, establishing a relationship with the local partner, which is library, and it works. That's the fun part. That we didn't invent some new function. We took an existing function and we just relocated it. And yeah, speaking also about the social business, design really matters. That's what we have understood in these years while building in public, because once it not only functions good, but it looks good, it gets recognition, and it's really important to get recognition for these kind of processes. I mean, it's not a goal itself to create a beautiful thing. The goal is to let other people hear the need of these kind of processes. So what we learned, seek the opportunities within existing resources, do not always invent something new, rearrange, highlight. Another event, real quickly, I'm running out of time. In Miera Street, I forgot to mention, these signature collections and these involvement processes, we didn't design on a work day or in a weekends. We took an existing street festival where there's lots of people, where they come out on the street naturally, and we just slipped in by and had said, hey, maybe you want to sign, and we didn't try to design a participation process also from scratch. Here we did it a bit opposite in Cēsis. It was really interesting for us to try it out. We designed the whole event. The students also, the initial task of the students was to design the event from zero, from food, from furniture, from promotion, from linking with the local partners, everything. So we did it, the event, but the main purpose of it was actually, to try to bring people together in a sort of natural or volunteer way, and then when you succeed in that, when you create atmosphere where people naturally want to come, you can show the panel. By the way, this is what we want to do in our city. What do you think? We really need to awake natural curiosity of people, to participate in these kind of things. And also lessons learned: don't label these things with these words as social, as planning, as participation. It's boring and it scares people. It's make it fun and make them come there naturally. I think I'm a bit out of time. Maybe I'll leave this for some next other time. but it's also very, very interesting, this process.
But actually, Toms, especially because Tallinn is not that developed in terms of biking, you maybe should say something about it.
Well, actually, I didn't manage to finish my presentation.
Okay.
But I can tell you.
Just tell.
Quickly.
I mean, very short.
Well, just like with any other new thing, whether it's art, culture, music, you know, something starts small and something is unnoticeable, something, and then it becomes, you know, revolutionary when it doesn't, you know, get the recognition or attention it needs, or it simply denies something that is existing there before them. So these little pieces of cycle activism have been going on since 90s already, but in past, actually the key turning point was similar as in Tallinn, the case with the mayor candidates. We managed to gather them all in one room and sit in a row and said, you know, Riga is in big trouble. There's hundreds of and thousands of cyclists and there is no infrastructure. And we, of course, heard the same things that you heard in Tallinn. Yeah, biking is good, I bike myself, and so on. But surprisingly, you know, it didn't go down after the election. Right now we are in the middle of discussion with the city council to form you know, a working group that would actually work on designing the city. So from rebels and protesters, we have become to, you know, doers, designers, and it's really, really interesting turning point at this point. And also the forms, how we could collaborate with the city, it's ongoing right now, and it's, in this context, in 29th of November, there will be a big conference in a city council, a big hall, dedicated to cycling theme. So everybody is welcomed who is interested. And afterwards, also in Kaņepes Kultūras Centers, there will be a more informal event. In both of these events, I will give lectures, not lecture, but just tell how things are going about this theme. So yeah,
Thanks a lot,
about it.
So I mean, I guess we take a main message out of that. Let's not scare people. Let's have fun. I think all of us agree to that, especially those sitting on the panel, because I know how we are thinking and what we are like doing. Though this is like our main issue usually, although I have actually recognized sometimes now the picture is gone, but how still people in Riga are scared about seeing masses of bikes. I mean, pedestrians are really like still scared. But there was yesterday in evening one very interesting point. We had this like social event. We started off with the conference, and one colleague from Tallinn was asking me, what is that all about with the bikes here in Riga? Why you are like doing that, and why it's so extremely developing, and so it's really positively developing. So kind of where is this hype of biking in Riga? And I had to be honest, I couldn't really find a clear answer. Huh? It's kind of something maybe a little bit fashionable also, a little bit something that really interests people, and the ecological idea is like growing among people. So there are many reasons, but maybe it's also one issue that we have to like in the future like think about why exactly Riga is this hotspot in the moment. Now we are changing to our partners in the south, as Anders said that before in one workshop. So to Lithuania, and I'm really extremely happy to welcome Jekaterina Lavrinec from Vilnius, from Laimikis, and yes, so let's keep it short.
Okay, I don't know if yes you listen. Yes, you hear me. Okay. So what I'm going to present, some tactic of redevelopment of the neighborhood. And a shift which could be made by urban activists from urban activism towards social entrepreneurship. And I am going also to be focused on the question how to build the local community, that is the net of trust among some residents in some neighborhood, and net of mutual help. So just shortly presenting my organization, Laimikis.lt is and a small NGO which was registered in 2009, but as a creative group we started working and acting on the streets of Vilnius in 2007. And our main mission, as we put it, is to promote participatory urban development through creative activities in public spaces. Our tactics of working with public spaces come up from the fact that we started primarily in 2007 as street photographers. That is, we acted on the street and we know how to approach people directly with photo camera and with some compliments. So that shapes this practice of making compliments to people, passers-by on the streets, shapes all our activities now. We're not going to establish some bigger distances with residents. We're acting on the streets all the time. So I'm going to focus on one small neighborhood in Vilnius, which is just next to municipality territory, which is the territory of modern development, and which was seen even in Soviet planning tradition as a place for active development. At this moment, this territory is a territory of skyscrapers. It's the right bank of the river Neris. And in this place, we have got a beautiful, contrast between newly built skyscrapers, few skyscrapers we have, and wooden neighborhood. Just to bring you an impression of what this neighborhood of Šnipiškės is like, I put several photos here, just to see what is the contrast, especially this one. So it's something municipality has by its side, but just forgets all the time, just ignores this district. This district is seen primarily as a land for redevelopment. So the people who present in this district, they experience this situation of uncertainty for 50 years and more, because even in Soviets it was the idea of redevelopment of this district was presented. So even some Karl Marx is presented here, of course. So, a little bit of historical background of this district, which also prompts some potential and prompts something what could be done in this neighborhood. This district was famous for ceramic workshops in 17th, 18th centuries, and archaeologists, they found some stoves, ceramic stoves, a place where these tiles are made, of 16th and 17th century. Also, this district was used as a taxi park for horses and cabs in the 19th century. And there is nice architecture of wooden architecture of 19th century still presented in this district. But the residential area experiences pressure, direct pressure and indirect one. From one hand, there were stories of burning houses in the period of 90s and 2007. It's over now, but people still remember these episodes. In the place of chaotic redevelopment, because from time to time some of residents, they sell their houses and move away, so some neighbors have next to their houses empty places, and they see these places as a source of potential threat. You do not know what happens in the next house to yours. And we were thinking about building, coming there with my organization, we were thinking about building a net of trust between people, because if they're not starting trusting to each other, they're not going to create community, and they're not going to somehow shape their future being in this district. Also, there is indirect pressure formed by mass medias. This district is constantly marginalized in press the dwellers of this district are presented in mass media as lazy and not interested in progress. They are greedy people, according to most of these paid papers published in mass medias, and drinkers, drug addicts, and so on. So actually, when we moved to this place, we started thinking from what could be a starting point for redeveloping this beautiful area. One more thing I have to mention is that our municipality brought an idea of Skansen. Skansen is an idea of open-air museum, wooden museum of wooden architecture, but actually this is an idea which emerged in Sweden, was just brought to Vilnius and was put by municipality to this district, to some part of it, which is presented on this map. But there is no precise scenario what to do next. Okay, we have Skansen, but what is scenario for people living there? So at this moment, it's quite a good moment for urban activists to come up with some alternative ways of redeveloping this place, which could be done by collaborating with local dwellers. And starting working with this district, we shaped 3 directions for us. From one point, we wanted to build some places for community meetings, places where people could meet each other and just discuss their topics. Because in this district, as far as you have got wooden houses, each resident has its own yard, but there are no public spaces in this area. So we searched for several places where we could bring community from time to time just to be together. Also, we tried to recognize what places could be redeveloped by very small investments, and we found some. I will show you. And the third thing we shaped for us is that one of the first steps should be redesigning the representation, negative representation of this district by initiating some positive events which could be interesting to mass media, which could start also collaborating with us for redesigning the negative image of the district. So the first point was to build several communication points for neighbors. It's something very simple, but simple instrument which you can meet in many places. It's informational boards. Actually, in this district, there were no informational boards for people just to exchange information. At the same time, we developed a Facebook group for residents who could also exchange their ideas about redeveloping the district, and it appeared that it was very an instrument which was of great importance for the dwellers. Now it's quite a popular place for them to discuss their ideas, as well as informational boards, actually. Second step was to initiate community gatherings to revitalize one of the fields, because there are a lot of empty territories, actually, which are underused. To revitalize one of the fields and to make it an attraction point for community to gather there periodically. And to, at the same time, as one of the 3 main problems which was discussed by residents of this territory again and again, was the lack of playground for children. Our group designed an alternative playground, which comes from big letters, but very light letters, šnipiškės, which could be used for community gatherings to shape the place, as on the photo. And now it's used these letters are used during all the community gatherings. And their function is double. From one hand, it's a place where you can meet, but from the other hand, it's the representation. It's something about the representation of district, because from time to time, residents, they come with these letters to municipality square, to the square by municipality, just to remind them that we're here, come on. And the letters are quite light, though they are big. So the effect is quite visible. And yes, one more small initiative is to arrange street art galleries, the first in Lithuania, to use old garages which are presented in this district by inviting street artists from all over Lithuania. And what was beautiful for us that the community of garage owners, they were so happy about this initiative that now they're pushing us to invite more and more artists to draw on these garages, and they discuss what drawing they got at their garage. So the exciting coming from the community is quite big. But the most important initiative for me is an initiative of street mosaic workshop, which is a tool for actually for engaging community to start actively working in the residential area. Why street mosaic? Because I told you that this district was famous for ceramics ages ago, and we decided that mosaics is something connected with ceramics, so we started decorating electric poles presented in this district. And one woman, after several workshops, she just, who lived in this residential area, she came to us and told us that she has got a whole garage of ceramic tiles, and she's about 60 years old, and during all her life she was collecting tiles because she's in love with ceramics, but she's not artist. She didn't know what to do. So please, she told us, take our keys and you can use our garage. I'm happy that you can use it. So it was the first, step. We were presenting on the street all the time by these poles, and people started coming to us. Little kids whom we find that they are raised alone without parents. Their parents moved to UK, and their grandfathers and grandmothers are looking after them. So kids do not have where to spend free time. There are no playgrounds. They have nothing to do in this district. So they come to this workshop and they participate directly in it. So we're happy with this. And also we have got elder activists who just come and they discuss how beautiful this street mosaic is. And they also, people started bringing us some things, old ceramic things to use in this, during this mosaic. So we understood that mosaic workshop could be used as a format of memory of the district, because if you put some old cup on the wall, you preserve it in some way. And what was more beautiful for us, that the owner of one shop, of bicycle shop in Šnipiškes, he came to us and asked us to move to his bicycle shop. And here you see the wall of this shop. It's one of few houses which is not a wooden house. It's a stone house. And he asked us to continue our workshop on his house, and we were completely happy with it. At first, we were very shy and tried to put our mosaic as low as we could because we're not professionals, But he was encouraging us. Each initiative which was started in this district, it was, we just, got a lot of encouragement from the residents themselves. And what happened next, there's several conceptual works, Television and Hello, I'm a Lamp. And these are authors of these conceptual mosaics. After some time, I found that our activities started attracting attention at first of community leaders from various countries, and some communities of historians, anthropologists, some students who came from abroad and started visiting this territory, because it's really, the contrast itself is quite interesting there. And then I started moving to this idea of social entrepreneurship, because we understood that when we take the map of this, when we start thinking about the district in a whole, in a holistic way, and when some, when you arrange some guided tour through the district, you find that something is missing there. For example, a small cafe where tourists can, drink coffee and go further. a small souvenir shop which could be arranged there. And we proposed people to just to arrange this kind of small businesses, and we already have a man there who is going to open his inner yard, and next summer a small cafe is going to be open in this district. That means that the same place is going to be revitalized by these small initiatives, which are not going to run by us. We just redeveloping this district. We're just promoting some ideas, but people themselves, community themselves, they start, being included in these processes. And also what concerns souvenir shops, we found several designers who are presented, who live by this district, and they gladly decided to present some works of them, to reproduce them and to create souvenirs. So that's actually all the story. At this moment we have got several initiatives which are outgoing, and the last thing maybe, because the time is running, is that most of our initiatives as we come to the city as activists are low cost. And that's why they are sustainable. For the community, it's quite easy to continue, street mosaic workshop without us, because it's practically for free, because they have got a whole garage of tiles. Also, it costs nothing to, develop this street art gallery, because artists, they come with their own colors, most of them. And now we have these ideas of workshop and of cafes, which will cost something, but we'll see. We're in the process now, and we're excited what is going to be next. So, as our organization presented here, our small NGO is also not an enterprise. We stuck on EU projects mostly. But we also sell some services, that is community art workshops. We arrange events, and we provide some consulting. Also, we have barters with small business and other NGOs. And also it's about fundraising and 2%, which could be given by citizens. So these are our sources, but we'll see how it will be with the small enterprises, what model will be developed. So thank you for your attention. And if you visit Vilnius, please come to Šnipiškes. I will guide you there.
Thank you very much. So we did manage it again to have like approximately 1 hour, 10 minutes spent on presentations, which was fantastic, and but creates a problem. Okay, we started later, or excuse. We had some technical delays. Anyhow, to make it from my side kind of short and sexy, I mean, 2 statements. There's a clear point what happened here right now. I'm extremely thankful, most of all for sure, I always have to say that to Ilse, that we have arranged something. I have to be very honest. I mean, besides missing probably Sarkan Daurava as an example from Riga, actually the community leader is sitting here, I would say we had the best compilation of community work ever that we have managed in the last years. We have never had such a session where all these examples from all 3 countries were included. So this is wonderful. So thank you for that. But on the other hand, we didn't get an answer on the question. Not at all. Opposite, I mean, actually, we had statements, not yet, but maybe coming soon. Money is not important. We first of all have to work on something else. Business, no. Investment in ourselves and in the future. And I meant terms. And okay, a little bit something you are actually like maybe selling, and for sure Linnalabor is doing something. I know that. But kind of, I had the feeling we didn't really answer the question. So, but not. Let's try to bring that not so much inside here, but there. So, people. Do we need a mic?
I'm not sure, but it's from our side. Okay, thanks for the inspiring
Mindaugas.
Yeah, Mindaugas from Vilnius. I guess we should start blackmailing
property owners and real estate development companies, because what tactical urbanism and placemaking does and community development is enriching a neighborhood. And I'm sure that Miera Yela's property now is much more valuable once there are no empty shops and broken windows, or there is social activity in the streets. But of course, there is no direct link, between the property operators and owners and yourself. But anyway, maybe that could be an option sometime in the future.
Maybe very short comment was a clear question. Is actually there, what's about the property prices on Miera Yela? Do you have any?
In some few cases, yes. Rental price went up when a simple pot of flour appeared in front of the owner's facade. Yes,
Interesting.
It takes that little.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it takes that little.
But it's just one case, I think. It's not there yet.
I can confirm that the prices rise because I was renting an apartment on Miera Street, I got, I think, 20 lakhs more to pay, I think.
Because you have a street festival now, because you have like an active guy like Tuoms running around in Evelina.
So they raised the rent price for 20 lakhs. That was recently.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is very interesting. I mean, what's the other option to do? I mean, how long are we going to live in the streets like we live?
Yes,
we have to start somewhere once it becomes
we have this extreme difficulty like balancing the gentrification process. I mean, it is there, it is happening, but okay, but
Yes,
please.
Ariane from Sweden, I spoke in the previous session. I just want to say I think you're doing the exact right thing. But I tried to mention in my very short presentation, 7 minutes before that, civil society and organizing, mobilizing people at community level is the incubator for social enterprises. You're doing the exact right thing, and it's so inspiring to listen to you, because you're absolutely right, money will follow. And what you need to do is to have the endurance, and there's a great value to volunteer, and we do it a lot, but eventually you get tired, It's such a close balance that you feel that you're being used or abused or misused. So what you have to do is to keep that energy level up. And what you have to do, the next step, is to look at how to get political recognition of the importance of a vibrant and living civil society. We're teaching ourselves a democratic process, because you start to get organized, you elect someone to speak for you, and there is a democratic school in civil society that you have to rebuild, and we had a good chat with Christoph over lunch really talking about this as well. So I think that's important, because what you're doing is that you're creating social capital, and that creates trust in society, and then eventually the rest will follow. But it's just that endurance you have to keep going. And being from Sweden, and you just came from Stockholm, there's a very strong urban development organizations we call Hela Sverige ska leva, all of Sweden should be alive, consisting of 4,000 small community initiatives. And they have developed some tools for financing. How do we come from, is it EU money, is it bank loans, what do we do? And they're looking at a lot of really innovative crowdfunding, local funding, initiatives. And I'd be really happy to put you in touch with them, unless you already know them, because they've done some really interesting handbooks, from looking at Lapland, way up north, where everything left and is shut down, and they reopened the bank, the school, the library, the gas station, everything, with community interest and reinvesting in this. So I would just say keep on going. This is absolute, from my perspective, the best way to establish social enterprises, which could be schools and daycares and what have you eventually. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Ariana. I'm happy for that comment, because it really gives exactly that feedback that was necessary. On the other hand, we need to, as somebody who's trying to observe that whole issue for 12 years now here in the Baltics, we need to be very honest. These are nice small flowers, and we have a lot of work to do. And it's sometimes, I know all of these people, it's sometimes really tiring. I mean, for all of us, we really then, where we keep this energy from. I mean, this is why I'm thinking supervision, for example, and community work is really necessary. Kristaps, you were mentioned then. Please.
All right. Basically, Jonas already stole my question, and Ariane already kind of made the other comment I was trying to do. But anyways, I want to kind of enforce one thing that I have seen, or at least I think I have observed, which is kind of a problem for Latvian part. Because I was trying to do the same thing that Jonas started with. I was trying to range what is social enterprise and what has a potential to become one, and what is not. And so out of these examples, and I was finding a tendency that Lithuanians and Estonians have this beginning, or Estonians, as I know, you didn't mention it, but I know that you already have a background how to sell your services and actually monetize that your value. Latvians are trying to skip this, and that's becoming a tendency in Latvia. We're not trying to teach to each other. Maybe what we should do is to teach Latvians from Estonia and Lithuania these examples, because what you didn't touch upon, and Laimik has touched upon a bit, is how you can actually monetize these ideas, how not to get tired, how to find a motivation for yourself, because it's really nice to be independent for a while, but then you want to eat as well and things like that. So that was more like a comment, because the question part was already taken away from me.
I'm very thankful, Kristaps, but most of all I'm thankful that we finally had an economist kind of point of view, yeah? That was a little bit missing. Yeah. Please, yeah.
Maybe one small comment, because I'm also cooperating with your ideas that now you're in the process, and we all are in the process of developing some tool which will be sold to municipalities at some point, you know, because I have got experience with working with Scotland cities, where municipalities are hiring these kind of specialists to come to their cities and to work with local communities and to perform some creative injection from outside. So actually there is already need coming from other cities. And when I'm speaking about consulting of Laimikis, it's not consulting we sell in Vilnius, but it's consulting we sell to Berlin, for example. So it's different.
I think that...
I'm dreaming about the... Oh, hello.
It's okay.
I'm dreaming about the same thing, that I would be like regular consultant for our mayor, and that this would be an easy process. And actually, we have one neighborhood activist who is self-learned street engineer now. He's more competent than the people actually doing the job. And he got a great idea that he should go and offer himself as a bike consultant to the city government of Tallinn. And I think this is one way of how we can actually change things, because we get tired very easily. And it is frustrating, like 50% of the time.
But I mean, there is the one issue that we really should pay attention to, based on that what you also said earlier before, that we do in fact also not only talk about our own entrepreneurship, but we actually do also talk about that what we all with our work actually encourage to start any kind of other entrepreneur, like the example that you have just had. Yeah, this is not Linnalabor itself. This is somebody else who just like came along and kind of stimulated a little bit. Toms.
Yeah, I think there are three ways not to get tired and to have some food to eat. One is municipal, of course, that you mentioned, consulting by engineer that offered him to consult the city. I think that will be the Riga case in the upcoming couple of months. Second one, in summer school case, I didn't emphasize, I didn't touch it at all, but it's self-sustained event, which is fun and which is not dependent on some outsource money. It will not die because of financial problems. It's a non-profit still, yeah, but it sustains itself. And the third one was the private sector. You know, we grow, we emerge in our thinking, we start things, but there are also other things that grow and start seeing things differently. Like in Miera Street case, for example, it's Laima. Yeah, it's a big company that's willing to invest in line outside their property.
We have another example like that in Riga. We have the Aldaris Brewery in Sakandoga who also starts.
So I don't think that's that dark. Yeah, it's coming.
It is
there.
coming.
Yeah, it's
definitely.
there. Yeah.
Please, I'm so sorry. I haven't seen your head.
From Sabine from Charity Shops in Latvia. And we recently went to the Community Foundation conference in Kokins, close to Valmiera, and heard very inspiring stories, which basically are very similar to yours, except what they do is that the local community, which mostly in rural areas are not the richest people, not even middle income, it's usually the poorest part of Latvia. And they just, it's like crowdfunding or sourcing. They just put, 10 lots each from the local community, and they decide what to do with it. So I think it's definitely possible to monetize, and because the people living on Miera Street are not necessarily people from the lower society strata. So. And it's, I think you can do good things, and you don't have to be guilty for getting paid. I think especially once you have children and family, you have to be able to live. And I'm glad with charity shops we were able to pay good salaries and still do something good for the community, and so it's possible. And just personal question to Jānis: how do you survive?
I would buy him a dinner tonight.
I think you could ask that several.
He goes from conference to conference.
Actually, I've been crowdfunded since. Actually, I skipped that part. I'm a freelancer, so I managed to get some kind of official income, but I don't know if I'm supposed to actually sort of define any kind of circumstances of how I'm getting sort of fed, or. As you see, I'm good.
They could get some bit more meat on. We should feed him tonight. We should do something.
Finally. We've come to the sort of the main issues.
The main issues. Okay. Before the bus is leaving, maybe the last question? Yeah. Oh, okay.
I do have a question, not a comment. What does it take to make a community? Is it the space, the people, the diversity of architecture? I know it's a terrible question to ask when you have like 5 minutes, I know. But just let's imagine we're not Tallinn who has this history in Riga. And I was wondering, for example, what would it take to make that?
It's the most difficult question in the whole business.
It is a difficult question, but actually there's only a way how to deal with the question is to start to give some kind of answers. And then try to actually to deal with the process itself. I think the community starts with the spark. It starts with an idea, a common idea, which can generate some kind of attractiveness for other people. Actually, the community is a social reactor. And if you know how to ignite that reactor, it eventually will, I don't know, from my point of experience, it always starts with an idea and with the people who are committed and dedicated actually to confront all the possible problems that will lay ahead. So actually, community starts with some kind of...
Nuthead.
What? Nuthead, yeah. Yeah, it starts with the nuthead.
Okay, we should continue, yeah? What?
Yeah, I will add, more simply, it starts with few crazy people. In Tallinn, the neighborhoods, they all started with like 2 friends, 3 friends. Why don't we know our neighbors? Like, why can't we drink beer on the streets? And this is how it started, and it has created this new wave. So often
I feel that Jekaterina also has some kind of...
Yeah, my answer is very short. It starts with the presence. You should be somewhere. You should be by, and you should create some conditions for people to approach you and to start conversation. That's all. That's why you have to spend a lot of time actually in the streets, not in some office. You know?
And I would like to close that up as a really traditional community worker, and trained community worker. I would say actually there are 2 factors. One is the communication, but I'm sorry to say there is traditionally also another reason. It's the need, people's needs. That's how community work started with Jane Addams in Chicago and other areas. So that was in the 19th century. People were ghettoized and they had problems, and out of the problems resolved community work. So yeah. I mean, there is, I think there are many layers. So, if there is nobody jumping in the face now, then I would love to, although it really is not very nice to finish that, because it makes so much fun to sit with you on the stage, and we have the pleasure to have around 50 people sitting in front of us, which is really wonderful. I would like to thank, as I like to be a good moderator, I would like to thank first of all the audience to be here and to like listen to us. And I would love to thank my colleagues, friends sitting with me here, Teele, Jānis, Jekaterina, for the excellent, really, first time ever I've heard such a like combination that we had on the stage together, something like that. And for sure also like to thank again, I did it already, Ilse, Sarnietze, and yes, I will follow on that. The man sitting next to her, we have really the Riga City Council here, so Guntas Rushwald, thank you very much. You were also like in the committee to select those projects. So, I have to finish. Eva is kidding me off. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice evening.